All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the Rally Report. Bit of a hiatus on my end since the season preview, but we're back in the swing of things this winter. And what a start to the season it's been. I've been chatting with a couple people, and I think it's been a mixed review so far in terms of the entertainment of squash. But listen, guys, I think we're in for a huge shift this season in terms of passing of the torch, a transition period, or whatever you want to call it. I think it's going to be the season of upsets. And I say that because we're already seeing the power grab as this younger generation right now who are just entering the tour, have no interest in working their way up, but they want to take the crown immediately. We're already seeing that with Amina Orfi and with what she's been doing this season. And we're seeing a bit of that with Anat Singh, and we're also seeing it all over the place on the men's side. And I'm not just talking about the usual suspects like Zachariah and Jonah Bryant, but also want to give some love to the likes of Karim El Torki, Melville from France, who have just quietly ripping through draws, and players like Matthias Nitzen, Veer Chitrani, and CSA's best player right now, Solomon Khalil, I also think are the ones to look out for this season. So if you're one of those fans who only like to watch the semis and finals, I think this season might not be the best to watch. But if you're in it for the long haul and trying to root along the success of one player, if you're trying to build that investment up as they move up the rankings, I think this is the season for you. I mean, man, I'm excited. There's just so many round one and round two matchups that get me excited at any event this season so far. Other things, the pre-show before every match day, going over the storylines, I think have been fantastic. I do find it intriguing because this forces the squash pundits and commentators at PSA to more so voice their opinions and lean into these storylines. And, you know, the players are going to have to start growing thick skins because it's not going to always be good things on every pre-show. And this is an element of what pro athletes and the big sports go through, and not take it too personally. I do fear that given how small squash is still, the pros are already not liking what's being said about them. But I mean, come on, it's the nature of how these things work, as hopefully squash gets bigger as well. And the last thing before we move on to the interview today is I wanted to address the Rowan Damming ban that just came through. I was wondering how PSA was going to deal with that situation, because it was, to candidly speaking, it was incredibly disappointing to see and watch where he did the racist remarks towards the referee at the Japan Open, as well as his hostile behavior towards Henry Leung. I don't want to make this podcast about bashing players, but I found it to be unacceptable. And just my quick 2 cents on it. I hope he learns from this. I personally wish he had come out with a public apology and statement, but that's all I'm going to say about that. And hopefully he comes back stronger from this. I think he's a phenomenal athlete, and having a Dutch player to also be on the rise, it can only be good for the sport. But yeah, that's it for me. And let's just transition over to today's interview with another rising star from England, Curtis Malik, everyone. Welcome to the show, Curtis. I've been meaning to have you on for a very long time, so glad to do this with you. And yeah, just want to start this off with what's going on in your world. How's the season been so far?
Yeah, no, firstly, thanks for having me on. I've watched a few episodes before, as I said, and yeah, it's nice to be on, so that's good. Yeah, so mixed seasons so far at the start. I had a little bit of a rough start I played all right in London, but lost to a very informed Tamimi. It was a very tight match, and then I got food poisoning in Egypt, so I struggled a little bit there. And then I managed to get things kicked off quite nicely in Qatar. Had a decent win, and then lost out to Youssef, and then the US tour, where I've probably had my best results to date. So getting close to the top 20 now.
Good. Quite the US tour with your results there. Two top 10 wins over Youssef Soliman and teammate of yours, Mohamed El Shorbagy. But kind of want to start this off. It's a mixed bag of season, right? Like probably the career year for October. Now we're in November, but just want to talk about, I hate to linger on losses, but the loss against Adam Hawal, it seems like you had food poisoning there, but how was the bounce back, or how was the 24 hours after a loss like that? Because I know he stole headlines, and his win over Paul Cole really kind of won the headlines, but I was also looking at, he also beat Curtis Malik the round before, which was a pretty big result on his end.
Well, yeah, it was tough because when I was playing the match, I had two good games in me, and I just had zero energy reserves. But fair play to Adam, he played a very good match and showed his maturity at that age already. And obviously I was disappointed because I couldn't do what I wanted to do that I have been in training and stuff, and the stuff I did over the summer. But but I guess what made it a little bit less painful was the fact he did beat Paul the day after, and that all the attention was on Paul that he'd lost, and less so on me. So I kind of got swept under the rug a little bit. But yeah, like I said, fair play to Adam. Two good wins, and shows why he's one of the top Egyptian juniors at the moment.
Do you feel the tour's depth right now is probably the best it's been in throughout your career so far? I just feel like this season's been the main theme has been upsets, or am I missing something here?
Yeah. No, for sure. I've said this a lot of times. I think the tour is as strong as it has been for a long time in terms of depth, like pure depth. You go down to players even ranked in the 200s, and you're getting like a very high quality level of player. And you're seeing in all these these copper events, these guys battling it out week in, week out, and like any one of like 12 to 16 players could actually win the event.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been shown the last few weeks. And then you see when they get a chance to play some big tournaments that they're making upsets in the top 30, and then like guys with my ranking and are in and around are beating guys in the top 20 now as well, and even top 10 players. So I think that the depth in the whole tour is very good, and it's very good to see. It's like very healthy. So
yeah,
there's a lot of good young talent coming through.
Let's talk about you and your month of October on the U.S. tour. Are you still riding the high right now? Like, are you back from the U.S.? I'm assuming you're back home right now. And I just want to ask, is there something that you felt like clicked during this U.S. tour that maybe hasn't clicked in previous months? What do you think prompted you to perform so well?
Yeah, so I'm back home now. I'm back in England. I had a little bit of Swiss League yesterday, so got back from that last night. And then I obviously got back into a full week of training since the US Open, which was good. There's plenty more for me to work on, so just cracking on with that. But yeah, in regards to the form in those two events, I think it was mainly about trusting myself and the work that I had done over the summer and the previous months building up to that, because I've been working extremely hard in some certain aspects of my game to allow me to get as close to those top 10 and to try and actually beat them as possible, because I've had a few wins in the top 20 over the last couple of years, but nothing really close inside the top 10. I've had a few 5-setters with a couple of guys, but that's not really turning it into a win. So I think that match with Youssef Soliman, I went in there with a really good mindset. I just wanted to make it really hard for him to beat me and try and implement some of the things I've been doing in training. And I think obviously getting that win gave me a lot of confidence leading into the next match against Victor, and also the US Open, knowing that you can actually turn those matches from 50-50s into a win. So that was huge.
Without giving away too much, I kind of wanted to ask, what have you worked on, especially this past summer, or what's been the biggest theme? I know you kind of jumped up I know you've been consistently moving up the rankings if you look at your career history, but I feel like that win over Mazen Hisham last winter really got you exploding onto the scene, and everyone's been talking about your name in specific. And obviously, as you said, you've had those close matches, those 50-50s that haven't been maybe going your way, but I'm sure you felt like you're in it in every match now. But yeah, what have you been working on, especially these past couple months, or during the summer off season? Without giving away too much, I'm sure you might feel a little less compelled to.
No, like you said, I've had those few close matchups with Mazen and Joel where I've taken them to 5. And going into the matches, I did believe I can win. So it wasn't a fact of like belief; it's a fact of executing the stuff I'm working on. So like in the summer, I did a lot more physical kind of red zone on court specific training. So previously I'd be doing fitness and it would be like more off court stuff, whereas this summer it was more like actually trying to match pace intensity for well over an hour. I was doing a lot of that with my brothers at home, which was good. And then I've also been working with Josh Sasel from Stable Body Squash, doing a lot more, trying to get a lot quicker, build up my like speed off the mark and getting in and out the corners a bit faster. So that's obviously helped too. And then I've also been working with a psychologist as well, which is part of the squash setup. So that's been nice, giving me some tools to use within training and also within matches. And then obviously the work I do with my dad at home and some other people who can feed me. So when you combine 4 or 5 of those factors together, you get those kind of daily improvements day in, day out, and then they slowly translate into those matches. And I feel like the more matches I play where I can use those things, the more accustomed my body and brain gets to doing them within a match. So I think that's why I was able to get like 6 good matches on that US tour back to back.
I mean, quickly, I want to ask you about your feelings just as a squash, perhaps just a squash fan, of what you think of the tour so far, this season especially. I know they've added the pre-show before every matchup. I'm sure as players, it gets a lot more personal now because they're calling out your names. They're doing a pre-show of analyzing your games before and matchups beforehand, which I think is great. But I've also realized that means, they get a lot more personal of what they think about you as a player. But yeah, curious about that. And I'm sure in the tour structure, I felt that this US Open wasn't featuring the biggest names, so it kind of opens up opportunities for a lot of players to, make it big inroads into the quarterfinals and semifinals. But yeah, just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think what the PSA are doing now with the pre-shows and the post analysis of other matches and stuff is absolutely what's needed in sport and in squash. Because like I watch a lot of other sports like tennis, all other sports, and I love that build up they do. Mm-hmm. It gets stories behind players, and it gets stories behind players doing well at tournaments. And then the crowd the fans of the sport get more involved because they have someone to back and root for. And also as players, it makes it feel a little bit more special and a bit more meaningful, knowing that there's a bit more hype around it. And these platinum events, they're big events and everyone wants to do well. So if they're talking about how the tournament's going, these big upsets happening, like we saw in Qatar, there was loads of upsets, and a lot of them were amazing for everyone to talk about and actually get the sport talked about more. So it's only a positive, and I hope that they can keep doing it because squash has needed something like this for a long time. So it's a real positive.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
Quick ad break, everyone. Today's episode of the Rally Report is sponsored by Sunrise Courts, the only US-based squash court manufacturer. Sunrise Courts has a hands-on approach to ensure every detail of your squash court is perfect. From the smoothness of the walls to the bounce of the ball, Sunrise Courts makes sure every element is just right. Whether you're looking to build new courts, update your current ones, Sunrise is the company for you. Sunrise Courts services all squash courts needs, including preventative maintenance, repairs, resurfacing, resanding, gut renovations, new flooring installations, glass realignments, cleaning, ball retrieval installations, wall lamination, new tins, new trim, and full court conversions. With over 30 years of experience, Sunrise Courts' knowledgeable staff have built courts at prestigious schools, storied squash clubs, and private residences across the United States. To get started with your squash court build or renovation, go to www.sunrise-courts.com or email info@sunrisecreations.net. Sunrise Courts, growing squash one court at a time.
Wanted to break down the U.S. Open with you. Obviously, that's probably the best result you've had in terms of a tournament so far. And I mean, probably getting that win over Mohamed El Shorbagy, especially given that you guys were teammates in the past December. I'm sure you guys are a lot closer than you were before. But yeah, just want to get your 24 hours. I felt like you kind of kept it level headed, but I'm sure that inside there was an explosion of emotions there that was hard to contain. But yeah, and then having to back that up with Dimitri Steinmann, which is kind of a boogeyman for you in the past. But that match was also a bit feisty there. So kind of wanted to break down those two matches with you. What was like going through your mind beforehand and afterwards, and how you were able to contain the emotions.
Yeah, so obviously the match with Mo was always going to be a tough one. I think mentally for me more than anything, because we'd always I certainly have wanted to play him for a good few years now, but we'd always missed each other at British Nationals the last few years. Either I'd lost or he'd got injured, and it just didn't match up. So we saw the draw come out at the London Classic together, and we're like, oh yeah, we're looking forward to that one. So it had been built up for a couple of weeks before. And like I said in my post-match interview, he's always been like very helpful to me, giving me a lot of time, supporting me a lot, and showing me what it takes to be like a top player. And I just wanted to go on that court and not come off with any sort of regrets. And then, to be honest, in the first game and a half, he was playing absolutely unbelievable squash. I didn't feel like I actually felt like I wasn't anywhere near the level. But I just reminded myself that not everyone can maintain that sort of level for a whole match. So if I could just stick in there and make things hard, make the rallies a little bit longer, try and use my size across the middle of the court and twist and turn a little bit, and And yeah, I managed to get that second game. I think that was crucial. And then the third was probably the best quality, where we're both playing well at the same time. And I managed to sneak that 11-9. It did get physical. And I knew there would be a little bit of a drop off after that point, because we'd played at least 45, 50 minutes at that point. So, but as you know, Mo has a lot of experience. So in the fourth game, he was super sharp. He managed to win, I think from 6-0, he won 4 or 5 quick points to take the game. And then going into the fifth, I was a little bit nervous, but I knew that he was probably physically a little bit tired. So I just tried to get off to a quick start, trying to volley, take the balls in when they're there. And I think the start helped me a lot in the fifth. I got up to like 6-1 fairly quickly, and it's an uphill battle from there, really, from him. But I was very happy with the way I dealt with it mentally. And I think, especially playing him for the first time on PSA, it's very different to a practice match.
Have you had quite a lot of practice matches with him before?
Yeah, we've probably had 4 or 5, and then done a fair few training sessions now, where I go and stay with him and we train together, or there's some sort of England squad and we do stuff together. So we do know each other's game well, but he's clever at always leaving something up his sleeve for the match. So he's good at doing that. Yeah. And then I was just super relieved and just happy at the end to get over the line and be on the court and share a match with Mohamed like that. So that was pretty good.
He's always incredibly gracious in defeat, but I was curious if you could share what did he say to you when you just said congratulations?
Yeah, it was like you said, he's always very gracious in defeat, and not every player's like that. So kudos to Mo for that. Yeah. He was just saying, very well played. He said it's your time to lead now and try and take England forward and get up those rankings and push on. So let's see.
Well, and then I want to talk to you about the Dimitri Steinmann match. I mean, quite the ending there, that one. But I remember tuning in live, and I was like, I remember that day lineup. That was the match I wanted to look forward to. But I felt like you guys were very similar in skill level, both in a similar journey of moving up the rankings right now. But yeah, kind of break us down. He does bring a different type of aggression to the court, which you have to handle as well. But yeah,
he does. He's a great player. He's very explosive, strong, incredibly quick around the court. Improved his racket skills. He takes the ball in short nicely now too. So, like you said, going into it head to head didn't look great. I think I'm 5 love down on the head to head, but 2 or 3 of those have been 3-2s, and I have been close before, but I felt like he was always the one on the front foot leading. So there was a couple of times where he was 2-love up and I maybe come back to 2-all, and it was like a 5-setter, and he was always just in front. And this time I just really wanted to try and start well, but that didn't happen again. I lost the first game like 11-6. I think there's a little bit of pre-match fatigue from the night before, but then I got myself into it in the second game. Starting to be a little bit more expressive. That glass court was quite rewarding if you can get the ball to sit down at the back, and it stays quite low and short on that glass court in Philly. So I managed to find my attacking shots a little bit more often and actually impose some of the tactics I wanted to do and not just avoid what he's good at. So I managed to do that quite well. And like I said, it got a little bit feisty at times. There were quite a few points where he'd kind of like shift up the court a little bit, and then he would get penalised with the video referee, and then I got basically the stroke. So it ended up being a little bit nip and tuck in that kind of scenario, and it got really physical in the sense of like it was hard. Like in the fourth game, I was really kind of feeling it. It was 70 minutes in, and I was pretty tired, but I just reminded myself that if I wanted to get to a quarter of the US Open and get closer to the top 20, I'm just going to have to absolutely push with everything I've got in that fifth game. And it was pretty like point for point. Maybe I was like 1 or 2 points up in the fifth.
Yeah.
And I think at 6-4 I served out.
Yeah, I did see that.
Could not believe it. I could not believe it. Like I don't actually think I've ever served out in a match. I've done it in training a couple of times, but my arm was like proper like the tense at that point. And he said something to me after the serving out. I was like, oh God, that's not good. So I try to get back to that level-headedness and trying to stay calm and play each point. And then I think we got to 7-all maybe, or 8-7 to me to go 9-7. And then he made one more slight movement with his body and then they gave a stroke again. So I went 9-7 or 10-7 up, and then I was facing the front wall, and then I heard the referee say his name. I turned around, Dimitri was walking towards me, and then and he shook my hand, and then the ref said conduct stroke or something. So I think he made some sort of hand gesture. I don't know what it was. And then I won the match, and it was all a bit of a blur at the end, but I was just so happy to get over the line because, like I said, the head-to-head wasn't great, and I hadn't beaten before. So, and plus the quarters of a US Open.
Yeah, I mean, it really shadowed the fact that you started out at probably the most important juncture of your career right there with such an opportunity on the line. When you see your opponents get flustered with a referee, obviously the talking back and forth has been reduced due to the referees, the way the game's structured now. But do you feel like I got the opponent now, or are you feeling like he's ruining the flow of the game right now for me, and I like to be in the zone and this is breaking it up? Because I feel like some players thrive under the fact that your opponent is kind of breaking down in that aspect. Like what do you get out of that situation?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the kind of player that likes just to crack on with things and just play. So I think the general directive of zero, like tolerance for talking and influencing, is gone too far. Personally, I just think sometimes you've got to have a little bit of character involved in sport, and people like Dimitri and stuff like that, and Marwan, people like that, they are characters, and you need to see that other side of them. But then obviously there's a time and place for it not to be where it can't be too much, and you can't be like abusive to the referee or anything. But there should be some sort of interaction with the referee, because back in the day, people enjoyed watching that kind of stuff, and it is entertaining, and they're talking points for the sport. So there is a balance. But for me, like, I do like just to crack on. Sometimes I'll have a word, but nothing extravagant, because I know it takes me out of my own focus zone. Whereas some players can get a little amped up with it and actually play better. But for me, it kind of works opposite. So I just try to stay calm. And if they want to get blown up and self blown up, then I'm happy with that, and I'll just try and use that as my advantage and crack on with it.
Yeah. And then you had the quarterfinal matchup with, I mean, hands down, probably the best player in the world right now, Mustafa Asal, which is ridden by a controversy with all the movement stuff and refereeing and all that jazz. But yeah, just on the pure squash wise factor, like, how was that experience for you? To play the best player in the world right now.
Yeah, that's a good question, because pure squash wise, he was very impressive. I thought, like, playing him, I actually thought I was doing some really, really good stuff on there. I thought my quality was pretty high. I thought I even played better than I did in my first 2 rounds. But it just shows how, like, for me, the things that stood out with playing Asal was how accurate he was on a consistent basis, his kind of weight of shot to the back of the court, and obviously his raw speed. Like, you can kind of hear him, feel him move past you when you're on the tee into those front corners. He flies up there, and you can kind of hear him move past you. He's that explosive. It's a very different feeling to playing like a Farag or something, where they're kind of smooth in and around you. And then he has a very good, I think with Asal, he's got very good contrast of that kind of slow, medium pace, accurate hitting, to then that real, like, burst of pace on the ball with extra head speed and speed onto the ball. And he can do that from a short swing and punch it past you, or just soften the hands and things like that.
Yeah.
And then like you saw against Cole, how deceptive he is with his body. He's able to just win points quite easily, just from a simple position, just being deceptive with his body. So I think a lot of those things are underrated in his game. People talk about his power and his speed, but there's also the subtleties he's got with his soft accuracy, weight of shot, and his body fakes and positions. So it was a great experience, and I felt like I learned a lot about how he plays at the top of the game, but also how I can apply what I want to do against him, against players ranked lower as well. So it was a great experience.
Yeah, I feel like people get so carried away with all the movement stuff. Like, he's also a great squash player. I mean, sure, we can talk about the movement, but not all that. But yeah, I think we're forgetting how good he is. Something on the side question, Curtis, I wanted to ask you was, I just realized that you played the 2 most recent events in Qatar and US Open on wooden floors on the glass, and then you had the London Classic and the glass floors, which has been a huge talking point that I've been asking a lot of players on my podcast. And obviously you're high enough in the rankings where you get exposure to both. And I know the PSA has been pushing for glass floors, but conveniently enough, the 2 recent events have been, and also I guess Silicon Valley was also wooden floor. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, so it's a good question. It's a big talking point among players at tournaments as well.
Oh shit! Okay.
So it's a big talking point among players, not even on social media. So some of the stuff you won't even hear or read just because we speak among ourselves. And I think the general consensus is that the glass floor can be a good idea, but right now it hasn't been perfected for squash playing at that level, just because of the number of stoppages there have been. The slide kind of give on it isn't good enough yet. You feel like your foot can go from underneath you, and all of a sudden you're on the floor. Ooh. And as soon as someone dives or something puts a handprint down, it just stays wet on there completely. So until they can get those things sorted, where it's as similar to a wooden floor as possible, then there's a place for it. But right now, the wooden floors are by far and above much better, much safer, and the continuity of play was much better for the players, and we'll prefer that. I mean, even the floor we used at US Open, it was a pretty old wooden floor, but it was still better. It felt better than a glass floor. And to me, what I originally heard about the glass floors, that we were going to get like advertising underneath and stuff of like sponsors and things like that and stats. Yeah. And none of that's come through yet. So I was waiting for that to come out, and I thought that'd be a great idea. But until that comes out, where they can make it safe and playable as well, and then you can combine the advertising with stats and projecting things on the floor, then that will be that will be an next level for the sport. But right now that's not happening. So I think wooden floors are going to be the way to go for hopefully the majority of the tournament. So we'll see. That's my personal opinion anyway. I know, speaking to a lot of the other top players and guys who use the floor, that they prefer the wooden floor at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, everyone says the same thing, but I keep seeing those glass floors, Curtis, so I don't know what's going on. But you're kind of switching gears here. For anyone who follows squash, I think at this point, the name Malik family is you got to know the Malik family at this point. I'm just curious, given how many siblings you have with Bailey, Heston, Perry, who's also killed it recently in the Canadian event, and Tori as well. How's that dynamic been? Like, how is that just in general? Being able to train with your
honestly, it's super fun. Like, we get to do pro squash as a family with each other day in, day out. So when we're all at home, we're all training with each other. There's 5 of us, and we get other pros coming in, so we're mixing it around. We get good group sessions. We can play practice matches with each other, feed each other, drills. We can literally do whatever we want, and no one says boo to a goose. No one complains. And then on tour, it's pretty chaotic at the moment. I was in America, Tori and Perry in Canada. One of the boys was in France, and the other one was at home. So we're all in different parts of the world.
That's very cool.
And the goal is, it is cool. Yeah. It's stressful for my dad and mum, because they've got to be up at weird hours in the night to watch some matches. But it's something that we all kind of dreamed of doing when we were young, and the fact that we're actually kind of living that and doing it now is pretty fun. I think the only thing for me is I'm trying to get the other guys to hurry up and get up onto the big tournaments with me, because it's more fun when we travel together. So I'm currently going to some of the platinums by myself. I've gone to a few golds with Tori, which is always, sometimes fun, unless she has a go at me. But just trying to get some of the boys up there too. They've got to do their hard groundwork to make that next jump into that kind of top, especially pairing that next bracket of top 50. So he's starting to sneak in some more of those World Tour events. And he did well in Canada, like you said, had a couple of good results, and he's making good inroads. And then the younger two are just in their kind of first full-time season, and they're already moving nice step into the top 200. So we're also pretty supportive of each other, and just hoping that they can meet me up there soon.
Has it been lonely recently? Because I do realize that you've been probably cracking more so now, like it's a stable name in the platinum events. And I'm sure you're more used to traveling with maybe perhaps all your siblings, but has it been a bit lonelier? Has it been an adjustment for you to be more alone?
Yeah, it is definitely a bit lonely at times. I don't mind my own company. I can be quite quiet or quite reserved. So I don't mind just spending time by myself. But honestly, when you go to some of these tournaments, like in America, I stay with 2 families at 2 of the events, and it makes the tournament way more fun. You don't just sit in a hotel room by yourself or with another player. You can actually talk about other things and get to know the people, and it takes your mind off squash for a period of the day, which is nice. But yeah, I do prefer traveling with either Perry or Tori to events. It's good fun. Like, for example, we all 5 of us played the Polish league finals. We played for a Polish team in June, and we all traveled together on the plane, got picked up together, stayed in the hotel with the rest of the team, and it was super fun. So like, if that's anything to go by, then the rest of the season with the others could be super fun.
Yeah, no, totally. Who is the most talented, just pure squash wise, out of all of you? Feel free to say yourself.
It's a good question.
What?
No, I wouldn't say myself. But we all have our different attributes of what makes us good. I'd say Perry's got the best hands. So in terms of like talent there, he's probably got his best hands. And then Bailey and Heston probably movement wise are probably more talented. They're a bit quicker, a bit more nimble around the court. And then Tori with just pure like attacking skills. So yeah, everyone's got their own kind of talent in their own way. I guess it depends what you describe talent as. I guess mine would be more like mentally, I would say I'm quite stable, so I'm able to implement how I want to play in matches a little bit easier than maybe some of the others. But maybe let's go with Perry with his hands, because they're a joke sometimes.
Now, the interesting question I had for you is I do realize that you guys are a team, and it seems like the way you guys train together and support each other. But I was also thinking about the fact that squash is inherently you have to be a bit selfish with what you want out of it. And it's an individual sport at the end of the day. I'm curious, have you ever had a moment in your career so far where you felt tempted to perhaps, I want to kind of move my base elsewhere outside of my family, maybe move to a different location, different coach, outside of your dad? Has that ever tempted you, or that's not something you've ever felt so far in your career?
There's maybe when I first did my first year or two on tour, I maybe thought of maybe going somewhere else. But seriously, like over the last few years, I don't think I've actually been to training on other locations in England and with some other people around the world. Like, I feel like the set we've got where we train is like world class. Like, I do think the environment we've kind of created and the sessions we do, the facilities we've got on offer at our club is second to none. I've got good hitting partners every day. People can drop in. I've got good coaches. I've got good people who can feed me. I've got the gym. I've got access to really everything. I don't think, and also people who come and train with us, they say a lot of similar things. They don't get that kind of world class hit in, day out of that level of intensity. So I think the setup we've got to me, is perfect. So, and then I can also, like, if I want to go and spend a couple of days in Birmingham training with Joel or some of those guys, or I can go to Bristol and spend 3 days there with Mo, if Mo one's around, I can go and do that. So I can split my week up like that. But the general block of training is done at home with my siblings and my dad. So, and I really enjoy it, and I think that's where I get my best work done.
Oh, awesome! That's great to hear. What inspired these YouTube videos? I just realized the Malik family videos are one of my main competitors on this space and platform. But yeah, just curious to hear what inspired that journey. Has that also been helping you with sponsorships, with just more visibility on the Malik family brand?
Yeah, well, to be honest, we have one sponsor who helps out called Mark. He kind of got us into thinking about doing some sort of vlog type style videos. And my dad was pushing the idea of it too. I mean, a few years back, I was probably very shy. So being in front of a camera was like the worst thing. I could not have thought of anything worse. So honestly, doing those vlogs initially was really hard for me, because I'd never really speak in front of a camera. I'd never really go out my way to talk to people. So that was hard. But I think because we're a family unit of 5 professional squash players, we're coming at it from a completely different angle. Yes, we want to promote ourselves and promote the sport, but we also want to have a good image for the sport and show things behind the scenes that maybe the fans don't normally get to see. And so far, we've had a very good reception. I'm getting quite a lot of views, even though we haven't got that many subscribers. We've got maybe 3.5, but we're consistently getting over 6,000 to 10,000 views, which is like great. And people are enjoying them because they're seeing a side of it they don't normally get to see. And like, I've watched a lot of YouTube over the years, so of other sports athletes, and I love it. So some of the sports I don't actually watch. I just watch the YouTube stuff of like the week building up to it, the week of the tournament, and like a debrief. Yeah. So those sorts of videos I really enjoy, and I kind of knew how to structure a video in that sense from the off, so that made it a little bit easier. The hardest bit is just editing them by myself, and because I'm not experienced, I've been taught in any sort of way. I'm literally using my phone to video it, edit it, and do it. It takes time for very little money. And we haven't got many sponsors yet from the video, but there's been a few people reach out that they may want to help out. So I guess we just got to keep building up over time. And like I said, as long as if we keep getting better, then more people tune in, and maybe open up more opportunities.
Do you ever pick the brains of the squash media team on the video editing front, asking a little bit for help?
No, I actually haven't yet. There's been a couple of people like on socials reach out. They want to maybe help with the videos. So maybe that will come into fruition soon. And if you see an upgrade in the quality, then you'll know it wasn't me editing them.
That's good. I kind of want to quickly go back to, I realized that World Team Champs experience must have been so good for you, getting that exposure. And I know you said in numerous interviews about how instrumental that was to be able to spend that time with both the Shorbagy brothers. And I bring this up because I was watching Shorbagy's recent podcast on Squash Player Magazine, and it's clear the way that he regards both you and Jonah Bryant as the future of England, and he finds you two to be different with your approach to the professionalism and towards the game. Is there any anecdotes or behind the scenes thing between you and either Shorbagy brothers that you felt was, wow, that's game changing from their approaches of the game that you share?
Yeah, like I guess one of the best insights would be like we were getting ready for the final at like maybe 7 or 8 p.m. because we had to play quite late in Hong Kong because there's an outdoor court, so you have to wait till it gets dark. And we were inside of the Hong Kong Football Club, and I was sitting there with Mo and Marwan and Nathan, and Mo said to me, "Can you hear that?" And I was like, "Yes." There's nothing. I was like, "Yeah, that's the sound of when you know you're in a final. There's no one else in the club. It's complete silence. It's just you and your competitors in a very dead environment, getting ready to do battle, basically." And he said, "You need to kind of remember this feeling because it's not going to come around very often in these big team events. And when you're on your own and you have to do this, you've got to be prepared." So that was a big moment for me, and it kind of got me really mentally in the zone and ready to compete because I was on first. And the week was all building up towards that kind of semi and that final with Egypt because we wanted to beat them very badly. They've obviously been on the top of the sport for many years and probably years to come. So we want to show them that we've got young players coming through and that we had a chance to win. Like I was close with Mazen. I didn't win, but it was close. And even Mo played an unbelievable match with Farag. And just their attention to detail and the small things in the way they prepare mentally is just absolutely second to none. You can see they've been in those scenarios time and time again, and they will produce their kind of best squash when it really matters. And I think that's something that I learned a lot from being in that experienced environment with them.
Yeah, that's a brilliant story. The silence.
Yeah.
It's very gladiatorial.
Yeah, it's very gladiatorial. Yeah.
Do you feel a bit of pressure? I feel like there's been a lot of buzz. I mean, I know there's a lot of buzz around Jonah Bryant, but also with you as, you know, there's obviously there's always pressure with England squash and given the rich history behind England squash, but with this next generation, and it seems like you two are kind of jumping up the rankings and kind of grabbing that torch there. But do you feel a different type of pressure because of that behind the history behind England, or no, you're kind of just zoning that noise out and just going through your path?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't feel that kind of pressure because I've grown up in a very different like career path to a lot of those guys who came before me. Like I'm part of a family basically that has no kind of squash history. I was the first to start doing tournaments with my dad, and we really came from nothing. So yes, I looked up to a lot of those players like Nick, James, Darryl, Barker, those kind of guys growing up, and I watched a lot of them. And it was always a dream to be like one of those kind of players in the top 20, top 10. And to be on this journey with me and my dad and the family doing it now, it actually takes the pressure off of me because I feel like everything that I'm doing is a bonus, really. Like, and I just want to keep climbing up the rankings and being one of those names that can be remembered in England that's done as well as possible and but maybe put England back on the map again after a few years of not having those players in the top 10. So that's the goal, is to get there. Obviously, Jonah's doing incredibly well. He's gone up so quickly. So he's done amazing. And there's a few more young guys hopefully coming up as well. So I think in a few years' time, you'll see a few more players in the top 30 for sure, which is great, because Mo and Marwan haven't got so long left and they need extra players to take over. So doing my best day in, day out to make that possibility. And I know the support I get from England squash and people like Nick and Stuart Crawford on the coaching team, like they're massively supportive. So yeah, just got to keep pushing on from here.
Fuck yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, Chris, I'm gonna move into the fun stuff now. I'm gonna transition to the quick fire and blind rankings. Start off with the blind rankings. Do you know the blind rankings, or do you want me to explain it to you?
I have seen them. Fuck. I guess you call out a number of names.
Shit. Yeah. Hopefully, fuck. Then you might know the names already coming your way here, but
okay, I don't know which names you'll pick.
Okay. So. We'll do 5 names here. Start off with Amr Shabana.
Oh, I love Shabs. I'm going to go with 3.
Mohamed El Shorbagy.
That's tough. 2.
Gregory Gaultier.
5.
Nick Matthew.
Oh, that's tough. Yeah, I don't know who the next name is. Let's go 4.
And then Ali Farag.
1. There we go. I'm happy with that.
Would you, if I allowed you to switch one, would you switch one, or you stick with the ranking right there?
I would actually switch Nick and Shabana, just on a personal opinion. I just think Nick was an absolute big time player. Just because Nick was an absolute big time player. He won 3 Worlds, 3 British Opens, #1 for a long time, won a lot of other platinum events, and he just knew when to turn on at the right times. He was the ultimate competitor. So
that's pretty solid. And curious to get your thoughts on, it seemed like it was pretty easy for you to put Farag as 1. And you're happy with that. Is he your undisputed there?
Yeah. For me, he's like quite undisputed, just purely because of the fact that if you look back at his history, he started like PSA at like 25, basically when he finished college. I know he did like a year or 2 before that when he started, but it wasn't full time. He basically, from the age of 25 to like what he is now, like, I don't know what he is, like 33. Yeah. He won 4 World Opens, got to another 2 or 3 finals, potentially could have won 6, but obviously won 4 British Open, loads of other platinum events, world #1 for a long, long time. And those last 2 seasons he had, he got to the final of almost every event. And I know Mo's done that too, but the way Farag was able to just bring up his level and when it matters the most again was just like incredible. And I think the way he played as well is like, I really enjoy the way he plays and the way he structures his squash with his skill set. It's just so nice to watch. So personally, for me, he's right up there as one of the GOATs.
Fair enough. I mean, that's a good point. In the short period of time, he's achieved so much. Yeah.
Impressive.
Cool. And then let's swap to the quickfire segment, starting off with favorite referee on tour.
I'd quite like. I'm going to go Roman Svek. Roman Svek, do you know the Czech?
Yeah, dude, I do know who you're talking about.
I like his. I think he refs very fairly. Mm-hmm. He's got a good understanding, and he speaks nicely to the players. So he's got a good rapport with the players.
You think those 3 elements are the biggest things when you look at a ref, when you qualify ref? How they?
Yeah, I mean, I don't get me wrong. Most of the refs, I think that's fair. But good understanding of the game, and then I think the respect between the player and referee is a big one. So yeah.
I got it. This might be a tough one. Favorite active player to watch? Might be tough as a competitor here, but
yeah, it is a tough one. Now that it was Farag, so it was Farag, but he's not active. So okay, when they're on song, go out.
Yeah,
go out.
Fair enough.
It's just such a joy to watch. Mm-hmm. Like even me as a player who's top 30. Sitting there watching in like a second round, you still get a lot of joy watching him. It's great. His racket skill was unbelievable. Yeah. So when he's on song, it's a pleasure to watch. Go ahead.
That's solid pick. Best dressed player on tour.
Best dressed.
Don't be shy from picking yourself, but
I mean, I put myself up there, but I'm not the best. I mean, my sister likes to be well dressed, so I'm going to put her up there. And on the men's side, I will put. I don't know. I may, maybe. To be honest, Mo Shorbagy, he's always pretty clean with what he wears. Like, it's always matching. It's always clean.
Yeah.
And he always matches the headbands with his kit color. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Mo.
Fair enough. And then worst dressed player on tour.
Oh, the worst dressed player. Cool. Gonna have to go with maybe Rodriguez. I just could not wear some of the stuff he wears.
Fair enough. I mean, I feel like his name gets mentioned on both best and worst together.
I just, there's not me pulling that off. I mean, he pulls it off, but I just would never wear that. So that's for me.
Yeah. Any player that you'd like to see in the commentators booth? I know they've been mixing it up a lot more lately, but yeah, any player that you think would be great in that booth?
It's a good question, actually. I would love to hear Farag in the box. I think he'd be really insightful. And because he's played so many of those matches at the top level, if you get him into like a semi and final. Actually, there's another one, Nick Matthew.
Yeah.
I think we need Nick Matthew in the box. He likes to talk and he's very good at it. So put
these two good I was always wondering, I don't really see him often. I feel like he's so active in the space, but not in the commentator side. But yeah, I think that's a great shout.
That's a good shout. We need Nick there.
Yeah.
Definitely get Nick.
And he likes to talk, so why wouldn't he? Best and worst organized tournament of the calendar year from your experience so far.
Oh, I've had some shockers in the Challenger Tour. There's too many to mention. But best on the best actual tournament I've been to, organisation wise, player welfare, getting looked after, hands down, Qatar Squash Classic.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
Seems like
I think that's like, if you ask any player, 95% of them would say that.
Yeah.
Like the hotel we get is unbelievable. We get picked up. There's cars whenever you need them. The club's nice. Glassfoot's lovely. Yeah, everything's perfect. One of the worst ones, maybe some of the French ones. I'm sorry to the French, but when I was playing the 6Ks in like 2021 or for 2020, I don't know, just before COVID, they were dreadful. I'm sorry.
Any stories to share there of how bad it was?
I mean, some of the clubs and the court conditions were just terrible. I went to one in Lorient in France. I actually drove there. So like, I drove from England to France and then France to the tournament. It was like 6 hours in the van with Perry. It was pretty bad. We got to the club, stayed in a really crappy hotel, like a Premier Class is like a 1-star equivalent. Terrible hotel. Got to the courts and the left side of the front wall was not even straight. So every time you hit a backhand straight drive, it would either pop into the middle or pop onto the side wall and back into the middle. So like me, who like sit a tight backhand drive, it just was not working, and everyone was getting pretty annoyed. The floor was slippery, and then I had an absolutely dreadful match with one of these players, and it just wasn't not a nice experience. And you basically have to do everything yourself, so it was not enjoyable.
That's funny. How about from the platinum events? Any terrible ones that you were like would have expected better from this tournament?
There was one gold, so I put a gold in there. It was the Houston gold last year. I mean, as far as platinums and golds go, it was one of the worst, like, organized in the sense of like you didn't feel that appreciated as much as some of the other tournaments. Like, it wasn't as much of a pleasure to have the top pros there as like those big tournaments. So maybe that one, the Houston Open.
It's a good shout. And then last 2 questions here. Most underrated player on tour right now for you?
Oh, most underrated player on the men's side?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Melville.
Yeah. That's good. That's a very good shout.
He's had some very good results recently.
Yeah.
And like, he's kind of going, like, people do mention him, but he's going under the radar. But like, he came through a very strong junior era with like Jonah, Zachariah, David Burnett.
Yeah.
Those kind of guys, and Kareem Al-Torki, that kind of level. And he's already beating guys of that kind of caliber. So he'll be moving up the rankings pretty quickly.
No, that's a great shout. I feel like the headline's been taken with Zachariah and Jonah, and people are forgetting with like Melvin and also Kareem El Torki is also a great shout. That junior era is really making a name for themselves.
Like, if you didn't have Zachariah and Jonah doing so well, those guys would be mentioned day in, day out. But those guys are doing great, and it's good to see that those guys coming through so quickly.
They're numbing the other guys exploding onto the rankings. They're doing something crazy with the rankings, but
I know it's impressive.
How about most overrated player?
Most overrated player.
You do know that.
Cool, you really check out the questions.
You do know that your coach Stuart Crawford, who listens to these podcasts, he always wishes more players answer this question more. So,
most overrated. This is actually a hard one.
You can opt out. You can opt out to not answer, and I'll give you a different question here.
Yeah, let's go. Let's skip the questions. I'm probably competing against too many of these guys and then they'll have like a vendetta against me next time I play them.
Fair enough. One player that you don't like playing that much for whatever reason, whether it be playing style or just you don't like being on court with them that much.
I know it's going to be like a boring answer, but it's true. It's my brother Perry. I absolutely hate playing him. Like, he knows my game inside out. I know his. And whenever we've played on tour, it's always a nightmare to play him. And like, we'll always have 3-1s, 3-2s. It's so annoying. So I'm going to say Perry.
I mean, I'm sure he's also looking at it as a ranking opportunity for him.
Yeah, don't tell him I've said this. I'm not going to send him the video link to this podcast.
But there you have it. I'll wrap it up there. I guess the last question is goals and ambitions for this to wrap up the season. I know I was looking through the website. It's very interesting. You guys have your set goals. And you guys have it like check mark if you hit the goal, which is very fascinating. Some ambitious ones out there. But yeah, just final thoughts there, and then we'll wrap it up here.
Yeah, I mean, with these goals, they've got to be ambitious. Otherwise, what are you doing the sport for at the end of the day? So for me, is the first one is to break the top 20. I'm quite close now, so that's a very short term goal. And then by the end of the season, to be in and around that top 16 bracket. And then represent England again on the European stage, and also try and make the world team for England in December, because that's going to be in South Korea, which I would absolutely love to go to. So that's a very clear goal. I'm not sure if you've heard of that yet, but South Korea, that would be cool. And then,
it is very cool.
Yeah, like you said, just to keep climbing up the rankings, and hopefully making some more inroads in those big platinum events, gold events, getting through into those quarters and hopefully deeper.
Awesome. Well, yeah, there you have it, folks. We'll wrap it up there. Thanks, Chris, for jumping on. That was a blast.
Thanks, Sean.